Welcome to our journey to independence number 8. Today we're going to be talking about meets and bounds. Meets and bounds are as important as life and death, and I'll give you an example of that. If someone comes to your door, the front door of your house, and they walk in your home without your permission, they go to your refrigerator, uh, you know, do whatever they want to do, that's considered breaking and entering, or entering without authorization or trespassing. Today, people are able to protect their property in such a way that if these individuals break down your door, you're able to shoot them. So surveys and meets and bounds are a matter of life and death. That's how important they are. And we just wanted to bring that to your attention before we get started here, because it won't really mean anything to you unless you really realize that how important meets and bounds and surveys are. It's an extremely important thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to start back at the original 13 colonies, because a lot of people are very confused about meets and bounds in the country itself, and why the government of the United States of America was revamped and fixed and put together and all that. People have a lot of questions about that, so we're going to go ahead and try to answer those questions tonight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share screens with everyone, and I'm going to show you the original 13 colonies. Okay, so here's a map. Present this to everyone. Okay, now this is a map of the original 13 colonies. You can see New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Delaware, all that. Can you see the cursor here, guys?
Yes, sir.
Moving around? Okay. All right, notice that this part right here has a different color from this part up here. Okay, but this is an actual map of it, and these were the original 13 colonies here. I know it doesn't look like much, but they were just colonies. It was through England, people came over, they set up the colonies and all that. No big deal. So let's go over to the next map. I'll share screens with you there. Okay. Does everyone see that?
Yes, it's up.
Okay, good to go. All right. That's the original 13 colonies. Okay, that turned into 13 states after the Revolution. This was 1783. So it was after 1776, the Revolution, Declaration of Independence, and then you had the Confederation, which was 1781, and this was the territory of the 13 original states in 1783. Now notice that this side over here has not been settled yet. It's just this right here, that just the color-coded sections of Massachusetts, Connecticut, Virginia, North Carolina, Georgia, all that, South Carolina, Florida. Now, this section here was called the United States of America. That was upper and lowercase, the United States of America. If anybody goes and looks at the original style, that was it right there. Okay? Now, they would have been okay if they would have had set this, if they'd stopped here. The problem came in is when they start expanding. So what we'll do is share screens again, and let me open this up here. Okay. I like doing this because pictures are worth 1,000 words, so you really don't have to say much about it. Okay, this is the map today. And everybody's familiar with this map. Those original 13 colonies were here, Okay, and then the map extended this way, right over here, and it went all the way around, and there you go. Okay, now believe it or not, nobody claimed the outside boundaries right here. Nobody claimed this, and the seaward boundaries right here. So if you go 12 miles out, that's been claimed, and this part or this whole country was never claimed. It was made up of 50 states, but they never claimed the outside metes and bounds. And we can prove that very, very easily, easily proven. This is what we can do. Let me go ahead and stop there. We can go over to excuse me, folks. This takes a little while. There it is, right here. Okay, go ahead and present to everyone. Here's the Constitution of the United States, and there's no metes and bounds in this at all of the country. Period. These metes and bounds. Can you see that? No.
It's
No,
on
you
the,
won't be able to.
it's on the small side.
Okay. There's no metes and bounds in this Constitution. Folks, in order to have a country, you have to have metes and bounds. The states can't claim intra-state commerce and then extend or grant their interstate commerce to a federal level um, and claim that's a country. It doesn't work if it's not if the metes and bounds are not within the Constitution of the United States. Even though the United States has a country code, it still doesn't qualify as a country because there's no metes and bounds. That's the problem that the country is having, or had. Let's put it that way. They had this problem up till about 2010. And when you look into the Constitution, it doesn't say anything about metes and bounds. The metes and bounds shall be, starting at the northeast corner of the country, going west. You know, it has to go. This is your northern boundary, going west, and then starting at the north, west country or northwest point of the country, going south, and then it has to describe those metes and bounds. If it doesn't have that, then you don't have a country. If each state is not offering any kind of oath and affirmation or nationality to that state, the people don't have a nationality. You can't, it doesn't work. I don't know how else to put that other than that's what it is. Okay, and there have been some people that are uh, freaking out over that we this thing's a little stuck. There it is. Okay, that we had done that or claimed the metes and bounds, the outside metes and bounds. This is what happened. Uh, there was a claim to the outside metes and bounds of the country. It happened in 2010, and it went from the northern border to the west coast to the southern borders to the east coast, and then 12 miles out from the baseline. And this really freaked out first of all, it freaked out Manhattan Island, and then it freaked out D.C., Washington D.C. They had never had that happen before. It had never happened before, and those metes and bounds stick today. And the whole country is now named the United States of America. Now, if you're wondering, well, where's your authority for that? You didn't have states' authority. You didn't have Congress's authority to do that. You didn't have this. You didn't have that. Okay, that's what a lot of people are saying. Okay, that's no problem. I'm going to show you exactly where that authority comes from. what I'm going to do is we're going to go back to the nation building book, and that's right here in Numbers 34. If you go back to the scriptures, the very first thing you have to do in order to establish a country is mark out your outward metes and bounds, and then the next step is to divide it by lot. You divide the country by lot. Now, back in Israel, in your Israel time, they divided the whole country of Israel by lot by each tribe or head of each tribe member. So it was like 12 tribes there. So they had put they said, okay, this is what we're going to do. First, we're going to go set your metes and bounds of the country. First thing we're going to do. So it says, and Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, command the children of Israel and say to them, when you come into the land of Canaan, this is the land which falls to you as an inheritance, the land of Canaan to its boundaries. So then your southern border shall be from the wilderness of Sin along the border of Edom. Just please excuse my my pronunciation of these words, okay? The descriptive words. And your southern border shall be eastward to the end of the Salt Sea. Then your border shall turn from the southern side of the ascent and continue to Sin and be to the south of Kadesh Barnea, and it shall go to the Hatzar Adar and continue to Atzmon. And then the border shall turn from Atzmon to the way of Mitzrim and shall end at the sea. So you'll notice that they started with the southern border, okay? And then they went to the border shall be from the western border. And then they went to the northern border, southern border, western border, northern border, and then it went, I believe, to the eastern border, and then back around. There it is, the eastern side, right there. So if you don't like the way the rules are set, get over it, because you cannot have a country without outside borders. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, the reality is it makes perfect sense when you actually hear it. I would doubt that most people would actually think of it. You would think that it was a given that the borders had been defined. But how can you have a country if you don't have borders?
Yeah, you can't have a country made up of 50 countries. It doesn't work that way in surveys. So what you have to do is you have to have one full country, and then you have to divide that country in by lot. And right now, the way it's set is, if you were looked at it from a legal standpoint or a law standpoint, however you want to say it, I'll present to everyone here. Okay? Technically, the country is called here the United States of America. Okay? Because that's what it was originally was here in the 13 states. And then it expanded. But what they failed to do was go around this whole thing and name the country. So technically, these are not necessarily states, they're lots. L-O-T-S, lots. Just like people buy a lot of land, or they have to divide a county by lot. Well, on the larger scale, this is what's happened. These states really didn't have the authority of independent states at all. A lot of them were landlocked. See this state right here? It's landlocked. It doesn't have any ocean. It can't do any commerce unless it goes through these states. This is landlocked, 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 landlocked. Oh, actually, this isn't landlocked because it can go through here. Okay. But a lot of these, here's a landlocked, landlocked, landlocked. You can't have a country cannot be a country If it's landlocked, it has to have a border to the sea in order to do interstate commerce with other countries. You were going to say something, John?
Yeah. The thing of it is, they made a country and everything else. They named it. They defined the borders and everything, but there's no written proof of it. It's not in the Constitution. They don't have written proof of where they stepped the meets and bounds.
Right,
That the only thing they didn't do in the United States of America was just write it down and define it.
and then publish it.
That's right.
No one did that.
Okay, go ahead.
So the country name, and this is what we've been working on for about 5 years, and ISO, the International Standards Organization, finally said, yes, the name of the country is the United States of America. They finally said, yeah, that's what it is. It's called the United States of America, not the lowercase t United States of America. It's upper and lowercase t. The style of the Confederacy, the original Confederacy of 1781. So they did that, and they finally, it took them a while. It took them about 3 years to figure out what had happened and what was missing. Now, what happened after that was these states there, they can become independent countries, but they're going to have to declare it. Right now, they're not declaring interstate commerce. They gave it to the District of Columbia and Trust as of right now. So there are many people that are beginning to understand what has happened, and what an incredible thing has happened. It's kind of cool that the country is actually settled. It's named the United States of America. It does have a national government now, and that national government is an independent sovereign entity. And now the states have to figure out what they're going to do next. As far as now, we have a country, and now all of these states are divided by lot. So, are we going to get citizens in those states declaring, I mean, you can't declare an independent state if you don't have citizens that have an oath and affirmation to that state, or if you don't have nationals that are an oath and affirmation to that state. That's a major problem.
Right, and as we learned, if I recall correctly, didn't we learn in one of the previous videos that the states aren't offering the oaths?
Yeah, they're not offering oaths and affirmations to anything, and that's a problem, guys. When you have that way they can't claim independent state when that happens. So, what do you have technically by survey? You have lots.
And that oath was a question that was checked at the county level, state level, and the federal level. None of them furnish that oath. No forms, no place to take it in front of a man, or nothing. Didn't exist. Therefore, we had to go back and create our own oath and affirmation for the United States of America.
Right, just to have a nationality,
Yeah,
a real nationality, not a foreign, um, like the city-state U.S. It's its own independent state, so it's not really, you know, it's not really a nation as far as a nationality is concerned. Here, let me show you. I'm going to open this up for people to see the first oath and affirmation to the states to show people that what the original what the original revolutionaries literally thought. Okay, and we're not talking about the what the people call the founding fathers, and I'm going to put that in quotations. It's not the founding fathers. These are the people that originally fought the revolution. Okay, these were the real guys that fought it, died, got hurt, whatever. But they were the people on the ground that actually fought that. They take one guy like George Washington and give him all this press, but he had 10,000 men that were fighting there also. Okay, so those men were a part of it also, and you have to listen to them. because you have to honor them. It's just the way it works. So I'm going to show you the original oath and affirmation, which is right there. Can you guys see that?
Yes, it's up.
Okay. All right. And it says, "We whose names are hereunto subscribed do solemnly and sincerely declare and swear that the state of Pennsylvania, everybody believes the state of Pennsylvania is the Commonwealth, is and of right ought to be a free, sovereign, and independent state. And I do forever renounce all allegiance, subjection, and obedience to the King or Crown of Great Britain, and do forever further swear, or solemnly, sincerely, truly declare and affirm, that I never have since the Declaration of Independence, directly or indirectly, assisted, abetted, or any wise countenance the King of Great Britain, his generals, fleets, and armies, and their adherents to their claims upon these United States." So these is many, okay? "And that I have ever since the Declaration of Independence thereof demeaned myself as a faithful citizen and subject." Think about that statement right there, okay? Declaration it says, "Ever since the Declaration of the Independence," not of independence, but of the independence, "thereof demeaned myself as a faithful citizen and subject of this or some one of the United States." Think about that, guys. Demeaned yourself. So all you guys wanting to become citizens and all these people come over, they considered, the real revolutionaries considered this demeaning to them. It's like it was stepped down. What they wanted, they wanted a nationality. Go ahead, John.
Give a definition of demean, please.
To reduce, I don't, I don't have it in front of me, but demean means to, what's that word? Well, go ahead and get a definition of it. I don't have it off the top of my head. Demean means to a step down, means to take a demotion. It would be looked upon as if you're the owner of the farm and you have farm workers, and you demean yourself to work with the farm workers.
Yes, I can throw a few phrases out there: debase, jeopardize dignity, ruin social standing. These are
bow to someone else.
Yep. These are phrases that fill in for demean.
Right. Now keep in mind, guys, in 1778, these guys were a late prisoner in Europe. This is Benjamin Locksley. This was a Philadelphia laborer. This was a farmer. These are the guys that signed it. This is a Philadelphia merchant. He was a Philadelphia merchant. And James McGill, he was a laborer. They considered being a citizen or subject of a state as demeaning themselves. A farmer. The people that look down at farmers today. That was demeaning to them. That was demotion.
Right.
So since the states, like the state of Pennsylvania or the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, is not allowing oaths and affirmations to those states, they're not independent states. They're lots. That's the problem. Yeah, they're lots.
Just
no
lots.
Different. Some people will call them colonies. Some people will come. They're just typically on a survey. They're lots to be divvied up or to be apportioned to the people.
Plantations.
Yeah, they can call them plantations if they want. So they say legally and by law they are lots, and because they're not allowing, the states won't allow that, so they can't be independent, because one of the criteria for an independent state is it has to have a permanent population. The permanent population has to be a national, and they have to have an oath and affirmation to that state, because back then people believed themselves equal to the states. I have just, and it's somewhat reflected and sifted through, and they call them individuals now, but still, If you create a state and then you demean yourself as a citizen or subject to it, what have you done? You violated the first commandment. You've placed a God before the Most High. So that's why they figured it is demeaning. They figured they were idol worshippers at the time, and they figured they were equal. They believed themselves equal to the states, which were correct. They had the same authority as the state did. Any national does.
And the states can't claim metes and bounds because the exterior metes and bounds were never established.
That's right. So as it sits right this second in this country, the country is called the United States of America. It does have a national government. It does have nationals. But you have 48 lots that are looking to be filled by nationals, not demeaned citizens and subjects. Those are people that have oaths and affirmations to those states if these states want to be independent. But as of right now, the union is not really even there because it's supposed to be a union of the states. Well, the states have to have a permanent population to qualify legally as a state. And it doesn't. They're quasi-citizens and quasi-residents. They're just, oh, we have a birth certificate. Well, there's no birthright citizenship here. It doesn't exist. It never has. So there's your evidence. Look at it how you want to look at it. People will come back and say, you mean even the state laws are worthless? If they're claiming to be a state and they don't have, not really qualified legally as a state, yeah, there's a problem there. I'm not saying that everybody should go off and say, hey, great, we're a lawless country. And some people have figured out that the law is basically contract. They're close, but they don't see the bigger picture. And so we had to go back and get the original General Post Office and finish what the original General Post Office was supposed to do, which was claim the metes and bounds of the whole country, and then name the country. But the metes and bounds first had to be claimed by the people, and 2 people claimed them. And anybody that says, well, you didn't have state authority to do that, there was no state because there were no people. As far as the people were concerned, there were no permanent population there. So it had to start out with at least 2 witnesses. And when you have to go back to a permanent population, when you have to do that, that's when you're in real trouble. That's when your country's in trouble. But it's not in trouble now. The government of the United States of America and the General Post Office and the American nationals are holding your metes and bounds. They're holding the borders. And it's up to the rest of the country to get educated, help them understand what happened, realize that we're not trying to take over as dictators. All we're doing is settling the country with a permanent population. And the only way to do that is to document, find out who the people are, get them documented, get them to take their oath and affirmation. They can do it as a state within their state, or they can do it within this government. We have a lot of choices here and a lot of options to help others with their choice and what they want to do. So is there anything else that we need to put in here?
No, I think that covers it as far as I understand it.
Anything to add, John, before I stop the broadcast?
I can't think of anything else right now, Keith.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for listening, and I hope if you have any questions, just email Secretary of State at the United States of America 1781.com. If you would like to help in what we're doing, email the same, Secretary of State at the United States of America 1781.com. And just keep in mind that we're not trying to get rid of your Constitution, your Constitution of the United States. That Constitution is within this government's and this country's metes and bounds. This was all done without affecting anyone. It didn't trespass on anything. It didn't touch anybody. It was all done outside because, and the reason why that was is because nobody was there. Nobody was there to get it done. Thank you for listening.